Hello, this is Sabina at Crosskeys Crafts. My idea was today to create a diorama card that folds flat but that you can open up to see the sentiment. And I had to put it down on paper. I sort of made it up from something I have seen before, but not just like that. And I made it, I recorded a video, and I don't like the card. I'll show you what I have made. First of all, it's not a diorama card because I had the glorious idea of using some vellum. And the problem with vellum is you can't see through it. Proper brain fog moment, and I threw all the ephemera on it that I wanted to. So the idea is you have got two panels. One sits within the other one, and you've got a greeting in the back. I'm going to recreate this one as well. I've thrown all my ephemera at this, but I still don't like it. I don't like the plain cardstock on the outside either. I'm not happy with the shape, although, you know, it's not too bad. This will definitely go in the stash of cards I'm giving it away, and I think this will be lovely for someone, but not really good enough to show you this in my video. But I want to show you these things. Not everything I make is perfect, so the idea behind it, I like that, but not the execution. So I have decided to change the size of it, to change the format from a portrait to a square panel, and to either use acetate or to leave the windows open. You can do that as well. I'll show you both options in a moment. I haven't made my mind yet up what I want to do. So this time I have decided to use some patterned paper. I'll just show you this. This is from a really old patterned paper pad from the works. It's got lots of koi on it, but I quite like the flowers, because what you see here is actually the inside of the card, and that will mostly disappear. So the actual pattern that I want is on the outside. I'm not covering these elements here, the Concertina elements, so I'm okay because it's the same color on the inside and the outside, but the actual panels from the outside won't show the inside pattern. You'll see in a moment how that happens. So this piece I have cut to 5 3/4 in height, and let me just see my notes on the side, 9 3/4 in width. I wanted it a little bit smaller and shorter than 6 inches because it's got quite a bit of dimensions. I'm hoping it will fit into a 6 by 6 envelope. And I have scored this panel at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, 2, and 2.5. So you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels that are 1/2 inch wide. And then you need to score again at 8 1/4, which gives you a 5 3/4 panel here. So 8 1/4, 8 3/4, and 9 1/4. Yeah, so you've got 3 panels here that are 1/2 inch wide. And I've already gone ahead and folded and burnished these. So starting on the inside, that's a valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley. And the same here, you start with a valley, mountain, and valley. And I have folded these all, and I have thoroughly burnished these. Let me just check the weight of my cardstock. Yeah, it's 230 GSM, so I've got quite a bit of weight to these. So you need to burnish all these folds so that they fold like concertinas. I have already done this off camera, but I'm just going over this again. So that's the back piece here. Then you need 4 pieces that are 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. So I have already cut. I've got 2 of these pattern paper, and because I only had 1 sheet of that, so that came out of 1 12 by 12 sheet. I've just chosen some more plain paper. It's pattern on the back, but it's got a same blue here. And let me just put this panel a bit away because that's for the back. That's a different size. So as I said, 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And I have cut a circle, big circle out of this one here. The importance is for choosing a circle is that you want at least 1/2 inch on the side, because this is where we will attach those flaps. If this is slimmer, make sure you cut the last panels down here on either side, but I have just got 1/2 inch. So my circle is actually 4 3/4 in width. That's the big one. And I decided to cut the other one smaller. Just thinking whether that's not even, I eyeballed this. So this one here is, let me just check that. I think that's just 4 inches. Well, it's actually 3 3/4, because I then have got like a tunnel look to it. And the nice thing about having this one smaller is when you attach ephemera on the outside, that looks quite nice actually, rather than having them sort of overlap. Yeah. So, and I've already gone ahead and I have die cut this piece here, that's the back piece, together actually with this one. And what I did was, because my die cutting plate, the bottom one, that no, I didn't cut them at the same time, sorry, I'll show you in a moment what I've done. But because the bottom cutting plate leaves some marks on the back, I did not want to cut these two together, because obviously they have to fit on top of each other, and sometimes if you're not properly aligned, the back one doesn't fit. So what I've done is this. I've cut the top one, and I took my die as it is. I put my piece that I need to die facing upwards, because I want the marks at the back that I won't see. And I'm putting this one here upside down, so with the front facing this panel here, and I placed my die back into the aperture, and it does slot in. So if I shift it around a little bit, sometimes they are a bit bendy, but you can sort of slot it back in. And I need my tape, there it is. Making sure the square is properly aligned underneath. I will have to cut that down a slither afterwards, but I want to align this as much as I can. So I'm just popping that in there. If it means that I will cut a slither of this circle again, I don't mind that. That's okay. So now, when I now cut it, the aperture should be in the same way, the same place, but mirrored, because this is facing upside down, and then this should fit perfectly. So I'm quickly doing this off camera, and then I'll show you how we assemble the card. If you find that by placing it upside down, you've got them sort of an edge to the outer place, just use your bone folder and just flatten that down. I do not suggest that you use what's it called, stitch dies. Just use plain ones, but obviously you can also cut these circles just with scissors if you wanted to, or if you've got a circle cutter, that would work as well. So the first one here, just need to be mindful that the pattern's not upside down, because the flowers are facing upwards. I'm gluing that onto this panel here. I'm just using wet glue. You can use whatever you like if you prefer tape, but I find with the wet glue I've got a bit of a wiggle room if I need to adjust that. And this is a little bit tricky because I've got the bounciness here. So I'm going to hold this, place this on top very loosely to start with, and I can shift it into place, and when it is in place I can then press this down, and with the pressure it adheres properly. So, and then I can do the same on this side, attach this one here, so the smaller circle goes on the shorter edge here, on where we've got the 3 panels, and the bigger circle on this side. So, and then if you decide not to put any acetate inside, you can place these pieces on the inside, making sure they match up properly and you've got them the right way around. If you find that you're too close to the score line to fold this down, you might have to trim them down a little bit. So check that they fit properly. With the oval die, it was a bit easier to find which way around I had actually cut them. So I'm going to have a little play, making sure that this doesn't show on the outside. If you want to use acetate, I suggest you use some sticky tape to adhere here. Cut the circle a little bit bigger than the aperture, and yeah, then stick the other piece on top. And obviously do the same for both sides. I still haven't decided yet what I want to do, whether I want to use acetate. I think I'll have a look in my stash and decide then. I have decided that I will actually use acetate, and I've placed these cutout circles onto my acetate, and then with about 1/4 of an inch frame I've just gone round with a Sharpie so I know where to cut this. And then I can, as I said, I can glue this onto my piece here and then put the other one on top. If you're not bothered about showing the flap here, and you're not using any acetate, then theoretically you don't need to put another layer on that, but this is not very sturdy, so you need ideally a thicker cardstock, but you can do this without all the extras. I just wanted to show you this. You can use some tape with a release paper still on, and you can put that round in a curve. Once you've taken the release paper off, this folds fairly flat, even though at the moment it feels like it's got a lot of creases on there. And this is probably the quickest and cleanest way of putting adhesive down in a circular shape. Before I forget to say that, when I put the inner panel on, I did not use any tape, I just used my wet glue. And when I had finished, I just like to use a makeup brush just to take any blemishes or like dust off these, although they are quite static. I haven't aligned mine perfectly. The background or the back of the paper is peeping through a little bit. Also, use a pencil when you cut, before you cut this down, mark on which side you need to cut it down. I did it wrong. I cut down at the bottom. I sort of managed to twist it, but that's okay. So now to check that this folds flat, I'm placing this panel here onto this sort of middle mountain fold here, and I'm not even expecting it to fold flat. Can you see how it wants to warp here? So I need to trim a little bit off this panel here. I'd say 1/8 of an inch, so that this can actually fold flat. So now that I have cut this slither off, this folds actually flat. So I can now come in and adhere my ephemera. With the first card I made, so there's still glue residue in some places. With the first card I made, I put pictures on the back, and obviously you've got that, you know, these peeping through a little bit, but because I want this to be displayed like this, I don't need to bother too much for what happens on the back. So I have chosen, again, as with the card before, some elements from this RSPCB Christmas Birds and Animals ephemera pack. These are, as the title says, mostly Christmas birds, but except for the robins that have got some Christmassy foliage, I actually have got quite a few birds that are a bit more generic. And I know I want the owl on here. That's quite big, and I can have then like a second owl on the panel behind. Can you see, like flowing a little bit lower? I've got a few sitting owls here. I've also got this little Not even sure what this one is. So I'll have a little play off camera. It's up to you now whether you want to glue these on the front of the acetate or on the back, as in you could have this sitting behind there rather than the front. So as I said, I'll have a little play. I might add a little bit of foliage. I hadn't planned for it, but I think this could do with it. Oh, and then obviously you can see it here. I then need to show you, and I'll tell you now what I'm doing with the back panel. I have cut another piece, but this is a little bit smaller. This is 5.5 by 5.5, just this plain blue cardstock, the same as this one. And then I have cut a panel. This is 9.5. Let me just check again before I tell you. Yeah, 9.5 by 4 3/4, and I've scored this at the middle at 4 3/4, so this can sit here. And the idea is that I can put my greeting on the inside, but when it's displayed, this will give a nice white background for the ephemera. So you could put some pattern paper on here if you wanted to, or some more elements. I might even do that. I don't want to overdo it with the elements, because you know it can easily be too much, but this is why I'm taking my time off camera, and I'll be back in a few seconds for you to show you the finished card. So my card is finished. I'm really pleased with this. I kept it very simple with the elements. I did fold it flat in the meantime, in between, sorry, to make sure actually the elements don't cover each other up. So this owl is flying a little bit lower, but it's actually on the third panel there. I did add a little piece of foliage just there, just to counterbalance this piece here. And the idea, as I said before, is that when the recipient gets it, they can set it up like that, so you actually look at it like this and have got this sort of tunnel look. I'm really pleased with this now. So I was looking here, I think I didn't cut it properly. It should be shifted a little bit to the side here, the circle, but I'm happy with that. And this is definitely so much better than my first version. I think, yeah, I think I'm really pleased with this. I did not add a sentiment here. I thought about putting one at the bottom, but I think I'll leave it as it is. I might change my mind later, which I sometimes do, but I've got enough space here to write. So my phone is just telling me I need to charge it quickly, so I'm going to close the video here. I hope you like this card and maybe even give it a try. And if you do like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.